Joseph continues the N.J. Dawood translation of Al-Quran, and we shall see some adjustments and comments here as we go along. In the name of Allah, the compassionate, the merciful. Aleph, Lam, Ra. These are the verses of the glorious book we have revealed, Al-Quran, in the Arabic tongue, so that you may grow in understanding. In revealing this Quran, we will recount to you the best of narratives, though before it you were heedless. And narratives, events, sayings are captured in the word hadith. Joseph said to his father, "Father, I dreamt of 11 stars and the sun and the moon. I saw them prostrate themselves before me." And Genesis 37, verse 9 mentions the same thing. Now, I don't know where some guy got this idea that Islam is wrong because it says there are only 7 planets and, 5 of them are only 5 of them are planets. It's like, well, the word planet still, and depending on which context you're looking at, still refers to the sun and the moon and stuff. But so Pluto is a planet. What else are we going to have? Charis and a couple exoplanets. Are we going to have them as planets too? And this thing, oh, Pluto's not a planet because they said it's not a planet anymore. So that doesn't. It's a silly argument. My son, he replied, say nothing of this dream to your brothers, lest they plot evil against you. Satan is a sworn enemy of man. You shall be chosen by your Lord. He will teach you to interpret visions and will perfect his favor to you and to the house of Jacob, as he perfected it to your forefathers, Abraham and Isaac, before you. Your Lord is all-knowing and wise. Surely in Joseph and his brothers there's signs for doubting men. Surely they said to each other, surely Joseph and his brothers are dearer to our father than ourselves. Though we are many, truly our father is much mistaken. Let us slay Joseph, or cast him away in some far-off land, so that we may have no rivals in our father's love, and after that be honorable men. One of the brothers said, do not slay Joseph, but if you must, rather cast him into a dark pit. Some caravan will take him up. They said to their father, why do you not trust us with Joseph? Surely we wish him well. Send him with us tomorrow, that he may play and enjoy himself. We will take good care of him. He replied, it would much grieve me to let him go with you, for I fear lest the wolf should eat him when you are off your guard. They said, if the wolf could eat him despite our number, we should surely be lost. Benjamin was Joseph's full brother. And when they took him with them, they resolved to cast him into a dark pit. We revealed to him our will, saying, you shall tell them of all this when they will not know you. At nightfall they returned weeping to their father. They said, we went off to compete together and left Joseph with our packs. The wolf devoured him, but you will not believe us, though we speak the truth. And they showed him their brother's shirt, stained with false blood. No, he cried, your souls have tempted you to evil. Sweet patience, Allah alone can help me bear the loss you speak of. And a caravan passed by, who sent their water bearer to the pit. And when he had let down his pail, he cried, rejoice, a boy. They concealed him as part of their merchandise, but Allah knew what they did. They sold him for a trifling price, for a few pieces of silver. They cared nothing for him. The Egyptians who bought him said to his wife, be kind to him, he may prove useful to us, or we may adopt him as our son. And thus we established Joseph in the land and taught him to interpret dreams. God has power over all things, though most men may not know it. And when he reached maturity, we bestowed on him wisdom and knowledge. Thus do we reward the righteous. And there was a Yaqub in ancient Egypt that was a dream interpreter, which is interesting enough, right? I don't know when exactly this was supposed to be, but by 1500 BCE or something like this was a figure that was known, at least in a text or two. His master's wife attempted to seduce him. She bolted the doors and said, "Come." "Allah forbid," he replied. "My Lord has treated me with kindness. Wrongdoers shall never prosper." And I don't think, God forbid is the right term, but because ma'adallah is more like, God protect me from such things. Well, I guess that comes about to be the same, right? She made for him, and he himself would have succumbed to her had he not seen a sign from his Lord. Thus did we shield him from evil doing and lechery, for he was one of our faithful servants. They both rushed to the door. She tore his shirt from behind, and at the door they met her husband. She cried, "Shall not the man who wished to violate your wife be thrown into prison or eternally punished?" Joseph said, "It was she who attempted to seduce me. If his shirt is torn from the front," said one of her people, "she is speaking the truth, and he is lying. If it is torn from behind, then he is speaking the truth, and she is lying." Now, that's not always the absolute thing, right? If somebody can pull you forward by your shirt. And when her husband saw that Joseph's shirt was rent from behind, he said to her, "This is but one of your tricks. Your cunning is great indeed. Joseph, say no more about this. Woman, ask pardon for your sin. You have done wrong." Now, see, this is what the husband's saying. It's not God saying that this is what, this is what you should say in the circumstance. Like in the Bible where it says, "Woman, don't you suppose I'd be up to this?" Or I don't remember exactly what it says, but it's not even sure a prophet would talk like that. In the city, women were saying, "The prince's wife has sought to seduce her servant. She has conceived a passion for him. We can see that she has clearly gone astray." When she heard of their intrigues, she invited them to a banquet prepared at her house. To each she gave a knife and ordered Joseph to present himself before them. When they saw him, they were amazed at him and cut their hands, exclaiming, "God preserve us. This is no mortal, but a gracious angel. So Allah preserve us." And what term are we using for that? Shalallah. "This is he," she said, "on whose account you blamed me. I attempted to seduce him, but he was unyielding. If he declines to do my bidding, he shall be thrown into prison and shall be held in scorn." "Lord," said Joseph, "sooner would I go to prison than give in to their advances. Shield me from their cunning, or I shall yield to them and lapse into folly." Now, one understands the sentiment, but sometimes you need to be careful about your words, right? because the sentiment is certainly good. His Lord answered his prayer and warded off their wiles from him. He hears all and knows all, yet for all the evidence they had seen, they thought it right to jail him for a time. Two young men entered the prison with him. One said, I dreamt that I was pressing grapes, and the other, I dreamt that I was carrying a loaf upon my head, and the birds came and ate of it. Tell us the meaning of these dreams, for we can see you are a man of virtue. Joseph replied, whatever food you are provided with, I can divine for you its meaning, even before it reaches you. This knowledge of my Lord has given me, for I have left the faith of those that disbelieve in a law and deny the life to come. Well, problems that were happening with his brothers mistreating him. Certainly they weren't fearing the afterlife consequences for what they were doing. And, stuff that's happened, people he would have encountered, right? I follow the faith of my forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We will serve no idols besides Allah. No idols besides. Well, we're going to take no partners with God. Because God's, anyways, the translation kind of throws something. We're going to take no partners with God. Such is the grace which Allah has bestowed on us and on all mankind, yet most men do not give thanks. Yeah, they're going to serve none except God. Follow prisoners, are sundry gods better than Allah, the one who conquers all? Those who you serve besides him are nothing but names which you and your fathers have devised, and for which Allah has revealed no sanction. Judgment rests only with the law. He has commanded you to worship none but him. That is the true faith, yet most men do not know it. And so a similar point is something that we see in Surah 53, is that the Lord of Sirius, because some people thought of Sirius as like the provider. So God, so you have this idea God is God over what you consider to be gods. Fellow prisoners, one of you will serve his Lord with wine, the other will be crucified, and the birds will peck at his head. That is the answer to your question. And if you know your history, the Romans didn't start the whole crucifixion thing. So, like no one could have been stretched out and or could have been spread out and killed. Come on, doesn't make any sense. And Joseph said to the prisoner, who he knew would be freed, remember me in the presence of your Lord. But Satan made him forget to mention Joseph to his Lord, so that he stayed in prison for several years. The king said, I saw 7 fatted cows, which 7 lean ones devoured, also 7 green ears of corn, and 7 others dry. Tell me the meaning of this vision, my nobles, if you can interpret visions. They replied, they are but a medley of dreams, nor are we skilled in the interpretation of dreams. Thereupon the man who had been freed remembered. After all that time, he said, I shall tell you what it means. Give me leave to go. Joseph, he said, man of truth, tell us of the 7 fatted cows, which 7 lean ones devoured, also of the 7. Joseph, he said, man of truth, tell us of the 7 fatted cows, which 7 lean ones devoured, also of the 7 green ears of grain, and the other 7 which were dry, so that I may go back to my masters and inform them. I don't know if I made a sound or something in the middle of that because the power, something switched back and forth, but it seems to be recording. But it's not corn as in the thing. It means kernels and they're sheaths. So I don't. So ears sounds weird, because it's not even talking about that same thing. Because they had wheat and barley, and this language refers to the wheat and barley, not the other. He replied, "You shall sow for 7 consecutive years, leave in the sheath the grain you reap, except a little which you may eat. There shall follow 7 hungry years, which will consume all but little of what you stored. Then will come a year of abundant rain, in which the people will press the grape." The king said, "Bring this man before me." But when the envoy came to him, Joseph said, "Go back to your master and ask him about the women who cut their hands. My master knows their cunning." The king questioned the women, saying, "What made you attempt to seduce Joseph?" "God forbid," they replied. "We know no evil of him." "Now the truth must come to light," said the prince's wife. "It was I who attempted to seduce him. He has told the truth. From this," said Joseph, "my lord will know that I did not betray him in his absence, and that Allah does not guide the mischief of the treacherous. Not that I claim to be free from sin. Man's soul is prone to evil, except his to whom my lord has shown mercy. My lord is forgiving and merciful." The king said, "Bring him before me. I will choose him for my own." And when he had spoken with him, the king said, "You shall henceforth dwell with us, honored and trusted." Joseph said, "Give me charge of the granaries of the land. I shall husband them wisely." Thus did we establish Joseph in the land, and he dwelt there as he pleased. We bestow our mercy on whom we will. We shall never deny the righteous their reward. Surely better is the reward of the hereafter for those who believe in Allah and keep from evil. Joseph's brothers arrived and presented themselves before him. He recognized them, but they knew him not. And when he had given them their provisions, he said, "Bring me your other brother from your father. Do you not see that I give just measure and am the best of hosts? If you refuse to bring him, you shall have no measure, nor shall you come near me again." They replied, "We will endeavor to fetch him from his father." "This we will surely do," he said to his servants. "Put their silver into their packs, so that they may discover it when they return to their people. Perchance they will come back." When they returned to their father, they said, "Father, grain is henceforth denied us. Send our brother with us, and we shall have our measure. We will take good care of him." He replied, "Am I to trust you with him as I once entrusted you with your brother? But Allah is the best of guardians, and of all those that show mercy, he is the most merciful." When they opened their packs, they discovered that their silver had been returned to them. "Father," they said, "what more can we desire? Here's our silver returned to us. We will buy provisions for our people and take good care of our brother. We should receive an extra camel load. A camel load should be easy enough." He replied, "I will not send him with you until you promise in Allah's name to bring him back to me, unless the worst befall you." And when they had given him their pledge, he said, "Allah is the witness of what we say. My sons, do not enter from one gate, enter from different gates. In no way can I shield you from the might of Allah. Judgment is his alone. In him have I put my trust. In him let the faithful put their trust." And when they entered as their father bade them, he could in no way shield them from the might of Allah. It was but a wish in Jacob's soul, which he had thus fulfilled. He was possessed of knowledge, which we had given him, but most men have no knowledge. When they went into Joseph, he embraced his brother and said, I am your brother. Do not grieve at what they did. And when he had given them their provisions, he hid a drinking cup in his brother's pack. Then a crier called out after them, Travelers, you are surely thieves. They returned back and asked, What have you lost? We missed the king's drinking cup, they replied. He that brings it shall have a camel load of grain. I pledge my word for it. In Allah's name, they cried. You know we did not come to do evil in the land. We are no thieves. The Egyptian said, What punishment shall be his who stole it, if you prove to be lying? They replied, He in whose pack the cup is found shall render himself your bondsman. That shall be his punishment. Thus do we punish the wrongdoers. Joseph searched their bags before his brothers, and then took out the cup from his brother's bag. Thus we directed Joseph. By the king's law, he had no right to seize his brother, but God willed otherwise. But Allah willed otherwise. We exalt in knowledge whom we will, but above those that have knowledge, there is one more knowing. And they said, If he has stolen, know then that a brother of his has committed theft before him. But Joseph kept his secret and revealed nothing to them. He said, Your deed was worse. Allah best knows the things you speak of. They said, Noble prince, this boy has an aged father. Take one of us instead of him. We can see you are a generous man. He replied, God forbid that we should take any but the man with whom our property was found, for then we should be unjust. Ma'adallah. When they despaired of him, they went aside to confer in private. The eldest said, Do you not know that your father took from you a pledge in Allah's name, and that long ago you did your worst with Joseph? I will not stir from the land until my father gives me leave, or Allah makes known to me his judgment. He is the best of judges. Return to your father and say to him, Father, your son has committed theft. We testify only to what we know. We could not guard against the unforeseen. Inquire at the city where we lodged, and from the caravan with which we traveled. We surely speak the truth. No, cried their father, your souls have tempted you to evil, but I will have sweet patience. Allah may bring them all to me. He alone is all-knowing and wise. And he turned away from them, crying, Alas for Joseph. His eyes went white with grief, and he was oppressed with silent sorrow. Now, I use these Englishized names because it's going to be more readily recognized, so I'm not changing that part. His sons exclaimed, In Allah's name, will you not cease to think of Joseph until you ruin your health and die? He replied, I complain to Allah my sorrow and sadness. Allah has made known to me things that you know not. Go, my sons, and seek news of Joseph and his brother. Do not despair of Allah's spirit. None but the unbelievers despair of Allah's spirit. And when they went in to him, they said, Noble prince, we and our people are scourged with famine. We have brought but little money. Give us our full measure and be charitable to us. Allah surely rewards the charitable. And at the very least, they know, well, it's not really available back home, and we're having to travel for this, and you could probably charge through the roof for this, but, please don't, and come in as in, come into the presence. Do you know, he replied, what you did to Joseph and his brother? You were surely unaware, they cried. Can you indeed be Joseph? I am Joseph, he answered, and this is my brother. Allah has been gracious to us. Those that keep from evil and endure with fortitude, Allah will not deny them their reward. By the Lord, they said, Allah has exalted you above us all. We have indeed done wrong. He replied, none shall reproach you this day. May Allah forgive you of all those show mercy. He is the most merciful. Take this shirt of mine and throw it over my father's face. He will recover his sight. Then return to me with all your people. When the caravan departed, their father said, I feel the breath of Joseph. Though you will not believe me, in Allah's name, said those who heard him, it is but your old illusion. And when the bearer of good news arrived, he threw Joseph's shirt over the old man's face, and he regained his sight. He said, did I not tell you? Allah has made known to me what you know not. His son said, Father, implore forgiveness for our sins. We've indeed done wrong. He replied, I shall implore my Lord to forgive you. He is forgiving and merciful. And when they went into Joseph, he embraced his parents and said, welcome to Egypt safe. If Allah wills, he helped his parents to a couch, and they all fell on their knees and prostrated themselves before him, not in a way of treating him as a deity, but so you see this contrast. Even though it's been exposed, the father's not crazy with this stuff. They're still trying to, poke fun in a little bit, and some issues earlier on and all that. But Joseph helps his parents. And this, said Joseph to his father, is the meaning of my old vision. My Lord has fulfilled it. He has been gracious to me. He has released me from prison and brought you out of the desert after Satan had stirred up strife between me and my brothers. My Lord is gracious to whom he will. He alone is all-knowing and wise. So taking the edge off the situation, because, people are responsible for their decisions. Satan can't make people do or believe things, but, provoke things, and people like, oh, well, look at it, it was provoked amongst us. Don't worry about that. Lord, you have given me authority and taught me to interpret dreams, creator of the heavens and the earth, my guardian in this world and in the hereafter. Allow me to die in submission. Islam, whatever language you're speaking, submission, surrender to God, same thing. Other terms may have been used that don't quite line up with that, but it lines up with it in a non-literal sense. And admit me among the righteous, and that which we have now revealed to you is a tale of the unknown. You were not present. You were not present when Joseph's brothers conceived their plans and schemed against him. Yet strive as you may, most men will not believe. And remember, the gender neutral here, so most of humanity is not going to believe. You shall demand of them no recompense for this. It is but an admonition to all mankind. Many are the marvels of the heavens and the earth, yet they pass them by and pay no heed to them. The greater part of them believe in Allah only if they can worship other gods besides him. Like Christianity, they worship God, but they worship others too. Are they confident that Allah's scourge will not fall upon them, or that the hour of doom will not overtake them unawares without my warning? And I think it's probably fair to say that most Jews end up worshiping prophets or saints to some degree. Prophets, saints, angels, you know. Say, this is my path with sure knowledge. I call on you to have faith in Allah. I and all my followers, glory be to Allah. I am no idolater. Well, no misassociator. It goes beyond just idolatry, but yeah. Nor were the apostles whom we sent before you other than mortals, inspired by our will and chosen from among their people. Have they not traveled the land and seen what was the end of those who disbelieved before them? Better is the world to come for those that keep from evil. Can you not understand? And when at length the apostle despaired and thought they were denied, our help came down to them, delivering whom we please. The evildoers could not be saved from our scourge. Their annals point immortal to men of understanding. This is no invented tale, but a confirmation of previous scriptures, an explanation of all things, a guide and a blessing to true believers. It's interesting how this mirrors itself. And of course, there's that other mention of Joseph, because some people it's like, oh, it's only here. Now, Joseph, he said, man of truth, tell us of the 7 fatted cows, which 7 lean ones devoured, also the 7 green sheaths of grain, and the other 7 which were dry, so that I may go back to my masters and inform them. And so thus we see the reference that kind of got caught up in the middle there. And I want to say it's in Surah 41, but I am not entirely sure at this moment. So let me stop. Okay, no, it's 40:34. Long before this, Joseph came to you with veritable signs, but he never ceased to doubt them. And when he died, you said, after him, Allah will never send another apostle. And such thoughts have talked about that. Now the sort of thing is that, oh, well, that book of Revelation, those lines were written before the Gospel of John. Thank you very much. What you have as the Gospel of John was written, and some of the other stuff in the Bible. Maybe the Gospel of John was written before the book of Revelations, and then the book of Revelations was written after. They were both in the 90s. Some remnants of the letters portion of the Bible is written. The other Gospels have their first versions 120, 130s, and about 150. So yeah, there's no way that verse is referring to, oh, don't, there's never going to be any other scripture. And also, it was an independent book, so that kind of indicates that too. About that book of Revelations argument.